architectural boat tour of Chicago. So here we go. Enjoy the ride and listen to the commentary by the boat tour guide.
Going towards the lake. That is the Shed Aquarium. And at the Shed Aquarium you can find a lot of cool animals. You can find belugas, you can find sea otters, penguins. There's a lot of stuff to check out there as well. They also have a dolphin show, which is also quite worth watching. It's quite beautiful for sure. They have about 30,000 animals in there. It's also a really big collection as well. Now the last building that's at the very edge of that is the Adler Planetarium, and it was constructed in 1930. Oh, and you know how I mentioned about those jet skis that come into the lock system? If you look at those ropes, this is where the boats also hang out. If you see that boat over there, the guy's holding on to the life with his boat. But also jet skis have to hold on to those ropes. Which thankfully this is a no-wake zone, so it's not that big of an issue. But sometimes it does get a little rocky here, so it's impressive how they hold on for sure. Do we have anyone from any other country? That's always a fun one to us. Oh, okay, where are we from?
Canada.
Hi, Canada. Hi, Canada. Do you like your country?
Yes.
Yeah. What? And are you visiting Chicago as well?
Yes, for 3 days.
3 days? Oh, that's a good amount to be here for sure. You get to see a lot for sure. Get your phones out because you're going to want to take some pictures. I'll let you know when the good pictures come up, okay? So our very first building is going to be here on our right. That is Lake Point Tower. And Lake Point Tower was designed by this guy. His name was Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. For the rest of this tour, his name is Mr. van der Rohe, because that's a really long name. And he has a lot of buildings, believe me. So, Mr. van der Rohe, he designed this building in 1920. Now, if you're wondering, is that building that old? No, it is not. So, the original design was made for the city of Berlin in Germany. And when he went to take it to the officials there and they saw it, they were like, it's okay. It's cool. Looks like a giant fidget spinner. And so they ended up rejecting the design, and they're like, no, take it back to your country. We don't want it. And so Mr. van der Rohe came back a little bit defeated, but he put away his design until he passed away. And in the 1960s, his students wanted to make a building using one of his designs, and they put this one right here. So in 1968, they finished construction of the Lake Point Tower. Now, if you talk to someone from Chicago, you might also have heard this building called the Altar Building. The reason is because it is thought that Oprah Winfrey used to live here. These are condos. Bad news if you're a fan of Oprah Winfrey, she actually never lived here. Okay? But there were celebrities that lived on Lake Point Tower, such as Tom Cruise and Alice Cooper. Those two examples right there. Some other football players have lived there as well. They're really fancy, very cool. Never seen them live, but you know, I've heard they're quite beautiful as well, and they have really nice views of the lake. Now, speaking of that, you might notice that it is the only tall building past Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive is the street that is right behind me. And so, why is that? After that fire of 1871, the designer of the city of Chicago, the whole idea behind it was that alright, get your cameras ready because this is one of the coolest views of Chicago. One of the most beautiful pictures you're gonna get, and I'm actually for it. There you go.
Beautiful.
Head south.
So if you're taking your picture, let me tell you about our next building, and it is that one over there on our left. It's the wavy one, it's the blue one, and that is the St. Regis. Now, that building was designed by architect Jeannie Gang, making it the tallest building in the world designed by a female architect. That's a really cool fun fact about it. Jeannie Gang is a Chicago native, and she also built another building. It's called the Aqua Building, and it's a little bit past this, where you'll see it in just a minute. But the St. Regis has some really interesting architecture. The reason why it looks all wavy and blue is because it is meant to reflect the bodies of water that are here in Chicago, such as Lake Michigan and the river. That's why it's wavy. It has those tints of blues, turquoises, and greens. It's quite beautiful. Now you might also notice that it is completely covered in glass. And the thing about really tall buildings here in Chicago is that they have to be able to move at least a foot in either direction. And that is because of the wind. It is not the water anymore, it is more the wind. And all those wavy parts are actual balconies, and the whole idea behind it, besides the fact it reflects the wind. It is also meant to create community within the building, so that way if you were in your balcony and you felt like saying hi to your downstairs neighbors, you could go out to your balcony and look straight down and be like, hey, how's your day going? How's your dog? How's your football? So that's where the aqua building is. Now, speaking of the triangular building in the front, that's the Swiss Hotel, okay? Not Swiss Hotel, Swiss Hotel. Funny enough, it is a hotel. So the Swiss Hotel buildings and reconstruct the city and make it even bigger. Especially because this was swampland as well. So that's why that shoreline got pushed a little more that way. Now you might see that there's a sign on that bridge that says Gustavo Bridge.
Head northeast on Michigan Avenue Bridge, Union Station, Willis Tower, the River Esplanade.
And he was the very first non-native settler here in Chicago. He was in the fur trading industry, and it is thought that his hut was right where the...
Head east on Michigan Avenue Bridge, Union Station, Willis Tower, the River Esplanade.
Now, unfortunately, we don't know African-American French descent, so unfortunately, the story just ended its life. And so, a little bit that we don't know about this man, we have to remember. If you want to learn a little bit more about him too, you can always look that up. And also, at the very end of that bridge, you're going to find a bust of his head with a little plaque with a bit more information on him. Now, this next building, it is right behind me. And this is, if you ask me, the easiest building to point out in the city. It is also the
Head
easiest one to
northeast
remember
on
the name.
LaSalle,
This is
Clark,
the
IL,
Trump
Mac
Mansion.
Mile, L toward North Rush Street.
Now this is the second tallest building in our skyline, and kind of like I wanted to talk to you guys about the Haycock building. This building has a very tall spire at the top, and it doesn't do anything. It is just decoration, and because of that, it adds to the height of the building. So this is our second tallest building in the skyline because of that spire. Now in case you're looking at those letters and you're like, hey, how big are those? They're 22 feet tall. That's how big those letters are. That's why if you're ever walking around the loop and you need to find out how to get to Michigan Avenue, just look for the Trump Tower. You'll find it. That's a good point for sure.
IL, Mac Mile, L
If
toward
I
North
have
Rush
any
Street.
fans of the Dark Knight movies, Batman. So these are also condos,
It's a legal sea
and the
building.
whole point behind Marina City is actually have to park your own car. But if you do want to see some chaos, watch the Transformer movies. If you see that for sure. For sure. Oh, this building right here, this is our greenest building. It is not because
Head east on Roger B.
Right, it
Union,
is not because
IL,
it's the green
LaSalle,
because
Clark,
it has green
Ill.
metal or because it has green windows. It doesn't have any of those things. It is because this is a zero emissions building. They have their own green energy. They have solar panels at the very top. They also have water under the water that uses the water to create more energy. Which is hilarious that it has the same power on it because it really gets rid of some. And it's
Head east on Roger B.
that's
Union,
good. It's
IL,
06
LaSalle, Clark, Ill.
on the river north side of the city. You might actually have this. They still use it, just not for this building right here. Now at night they do have an experience that's called Art on the Mark. So if you look over
Head
here,
east on
our
Roger
left,
B.
you're gonna see that
Union,
black box right
IL,
there. That is a
LaSalle,
giant
Clark,
projector.
Ill.
So what they do is that they project beautiful images, just art pieces by different digital artists on the Mart, and you can sit there and enjoy the view. It is quite a nice thing to do besides fireworks and that, for sure. Now here comes another pop quiz for me.
For Esplanade.
We actually don't know when this is
Northeast on
called
Michigan Avenue Bridge,
One of the
Union
theories is
Station,
that
Willis
there was
Tower,
a guy that
the
worked
River
here that
Esplanade.
was also the fur trading
Head
industry.
north
That
on
his name
Michigan
was
Avenue Bridge, Union
That's
Station,
it. That's
Willis
the only
Tower.
Good building.
But the reason why it's a little scary is because this portion of the building is actually hanging. It's holding on. But on the other side, it's the same thing. There's another hanging portion. And so the way that this building is actually water level. So
Going.
sit up. That building is also built on air rights.
Head south on Agile B. Union, IL, North Avenue, Ill.
Oh, this nice building right here, this is where the Boeing headquarters used to be. And I say used to be because they're no longer there. They still have the sign on the building, and the building is currently empty. There's no one in there. I don't know, I've heard that they are thinking of coming Deco style. Now, Art Deco was really big during the 1920s, especially after King Tut's tomb was discovered. If we turn around, you'll get a nice view of it. Next are on the 103rd floor of the building, and that is an experience called The Ledge. Has anyone been on it? Can I see a raise of hand? Yeah. It is quite beautiful up there. Again, for many people that don't like it, they'll probably won't recommend it, but it is pretty cool. I've done it about 17 times today. I counted it last week, and I'm impressed that I've been that many times, but it is quite beautiful. You can get some really beautiful pictures of Chicago up there as well, looking straight down. Because it is a glass box, so in the end, nothing was going to happen to this guy.
Sharp left
And it
for
has not
Northwest
happened
Water
ever
Street.
since. From this building right
Sharp
here.
right onto Northwest Water
This
Street.
is the Civic Opera of the building. I say that because of the text on it. The reason is
Turn right onto West
for that
Washington
V is
Street.
because in paying homage to the Romans, they didn't really use the letter U in their vocabulary, so they switched the U for the V. This is also has the nickname of Insul's throne because it looks a little bit like a throne, and
So
because
beautiful,
Mr. Harry Insel, Samuel Insel, he commissioned this building for his wife or mistress. It depends on who you ask.
Head north on Michigan Avenue
And that's very
Bridge, Union
cool.
Station, Willis Tower toward River
This lady
Esplanade.
was an opera
Randolph
singer
Street,
that
our
lived in New York
favorite
City.
street.
And we still, to this day, there are accounts that she was the worst opera singer that you might have heard in your life. She was really bad. And so she really couldn't get a job as a singer in New York City. Because no one wanted her. And so she goes to Insel and she's like, oh, Samuel, why is this happening to me? I want to be an opera singer. This is my life. This is what I'm meant to do. This is my passion. Why is this not working? I should just throw myself into the boat. Samuel Insel was like, all right, calm down, right? Chill. Not that big of a deal. I gotcha. It is not as busy as it gets currently. Check back in tomorrow. Because during the weekends, that's when the tiny crab gets super busy. But this is a really nice place to go to get breakfast. Now, looking back at our skyline, that building over there, that green one, that is a carbon and carbide building. And that was built during the Prohibition in the 19th. In fact, green was the color of the Prohibition. A lot of bars had green glass on them, so that way you would know that that was a speakeasy and you could get alcohol in. So, also you might be wondering, is that top actual gold? Yes, it is. It is 24 karat gold. And it's so packed into the facade of the building that if you, in theory, decided to climb up the building and scratch off a little bit of that gold, you would only get dust. You wouldn't get enough to do anything with it. So, but with the sun, it looks quite beautiful, and it did bring people's hopes back up. Now, speaking of the 1920s and the Prohibition, this building right here, the Jewelers Building, is really important for that as well. Because at the very top, if you see that cupola, that used to be a speakeasy run by alcoholics. Now, this building was prime real estate for him because it had this thing called a car element. Next building over here, this is the Chicago Tribune Tower. And it is in the Gothic style. They're still adding to it. So it's definitely worth checking out and walking around it. I've been here for a few years now, and I still haven't looked at all the pieces that they have. That is also a condominium building, and they are very expensive. So you're never going to find me in there for sure. But it is quite beautiful as well. The Rockefeller Center in New York City. Now, kind of like the name goes with it, NBC Tower does have NBC in it.
Head east on Chicago
They
River
also
Line.
have other things in it, such as the headquarters for the company that owns Seahawks. My mom was here for sure at the time. And they also film stuff in there. So the Steve Harvey Show, they film it a little bit in there. All the Chicago shows, such as Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med.
Head north on
They
North
also film
Columbus
those in
Drive
there.
toward East North
And
Water
we talked
Street.
about those shows as well. They also film around the city. So you might ever, if you're ever going around and you see a big old sign that says buildings for Chicago Med, blah, 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 they do that as well. So this building right here, this is the Sheraton Hotel, and it is the safest hotel in the city. Now why? It is because of that
North on
glass.
North
All the
Columbus
windows,
Drive.
they're bulletproof. They also provide any private security if they're important enough to follow you around and keep you safe. And they also have a helicopter pad, so
left
that
on
way,
North Columbus
if you need
Drive.
to get out of the hotel or get in without being perceived, you can just, theoretically, land your helicopter on that pad and get in and out. We've had a lot of presidents stay here.
Slight
We also
right to stay
had
on Chicago Riverwalk.
Taylor Swift also stayed there when she was here for the Eras tour. My coworker said that he saw her, and I was like, dang, I don't believe it. But yeah, so this is a really important hotel for sure. Fun. Go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. And so they actually did that, and now it's part of the movie. So, impact on that too. Now that fountain over there, it is quite beautiful. It just started working. Once it does that, there is a curtain of water that is created, and we did go through it once, and it does feel like you're getting a nice shower. It is nice, cool. It's nice if it's really hot, but yeah, it. But if you're ever walking around, definitely try and check that out. It's quite beautiful. Even though it is nice. Now, if you can start from one end of the riverwalk and go straight all the way to where that museum campus that I was telling you about. You can even go even further than that and just walk around the shoreline. That is also, in my opinion, the easiest way to get from here to Millennium Park and all those places because it's just a straight line. It's quite a nice walk as well. And just a quick attention to this crane over here. It is not the crane that's important, but more the land that it's standing on. The reason is because that is where the tallest building in the world was supposed to be. The name of that building was going to be the Spire, and they started construction in the early 2000s. And when I say construction, they made a big old hole in the ground, and that's it. Because in 2008, when the recession happened, any one of the people that were giving their money, that they were financing it, they were like, "Yoink, I want my money back. That's not happening anymore, we need it." And so that hole sat there for 20 odd years. And I cannot do it justice of how big it is. So definitely look that up because it is impressive that that's just been sitting there. Now the reason why there's a crane now is because they are building 2 new buildings. And they're kind of like the little brothers of the Spire. They're going to be tall, glassy, and classy, old pretty. And if you get to live there, you would get really nice views of the lake as well. Now, as we're starting to make our way back to that lock system, let me tell you a story about that bridge that we just went under, Lakeshore Drive Bridge. It is the biggest bridge that you're going to find here in Chicago. It is also very heavy. And believe it or not, it is fully functional. So what it means is that it does indeed open. All the bridges here in Chicago, including the ones that have the L go on top of it, they all open. So that way, if you have your tall sailboats or a really big ship that needs to get through, you could open them. Only thing, just tiny little thing, you would just have to pay $1,000 per bridge to get through. So it would get a little bit expensive once you get past it. But another fun story about that bridge in particular is that there was someone that lived under that bridge. It was not a troll, it was just a normal guy. And he says that he lived under that bridge for 4 years. Now, officially the city of Chicago says that he lived there for 4 months. Now the theory as to why there is such a discrepancy with the times, it is because the city of Chicago is supposed to do maintenance on that bridge every 3 years. So if this guy actually lived under that bridge for 4 years, the city of Chicago was not doing their job and it would look really bad. So city of Chicago, 4 months. So the guy, it was 4 years. It was said that his setup was so sweet that he actually had a PS4 connected down there. He was just living life down there. After they found him, we don't know actually what happened to this guy. He's probably living on another bridge with a PS5 now. Just enjoying life. But yeah, he managed to do that and it was quite impressive. Now, I'm looking at those doors and they look like they're packed. So it is going to take a little bit for them to finish opening. So while we're here, let me tell you a little bit about the Ferris wheel. Has anyone been on the Ferris wheel yet on Navy Pier? Raise your hands. Really? Wow. Go on it. It is quite beautiful. Beautiful sights. It is great for first dates for some reason. I have like 10 friends that have been there for the first dates. They enjoyed it. But yeah, it is hilarious that that's a thing for sure. One of the gondolas is a VIP gondola, and again, I don't know what's with Chicago and their glass floors, but it has a glass floor. So what you can do is you can just sit there and just look straight down as the gondola is doing its thing. But the Ferris wheel was invented by this guy, and his name, get ready for it, was George Washington Ferris. And it was built for that World's Fair that I mentioned in 1893. Now, look at that Ferris wheel. And imagine it twice the size and fully made out of wood. 5 piers that were supposed to be built here in Lake Michigan. They started with number 2. They ended with number 2. That is the only pier that we actually have out of that plan. It was later named Navy Pier in honor of the Navy that was stationed during World War I and World War II.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and wait for my next video.